Welcome, everyone, to ARMBAR, the Valley's only home for pro wrestling and MMA radio talk. We're back on the air, and we're live, pal, with another episode of ARMBAR. I am the rock star, Jay Ochoa, joined, as always, by 7-star Jaime Esteban. Let's get a shot at him.
What's up?
As well as also the lead senior member of the team. He is Mike the Biz, and he's awesome.
Does he get senior discounts at restaurants now?
Mean.
Wow.
All right, so just so I can get this out of the way really quick before a lot of people start coming in and laughing at me over here really quick. I did make a bet with Jay from this past weekend where if...
Oh, did you?
And I don't know if I'll go ahead and explain the bet really quick, okay? So the bet was, if the Young Bucks won the match, which I'm wearing their shirt right now, right, to pay homage and to kind of go by the bet, right, that I would have to, say that they are the best tag team in the world. So, Jay, the rock star, the Young Bucks are the best tag team in the world, okay?
Thank you. I've waited 4 years for you to say that.
I'm going to go throw it.
Oh, man. It was Full Gear. It was an awesome show, as was Power Struggle. Not without its controversies, but Saturday night and Saturday morning here in the U.S., Saturday night in Japan. Definitely a great night of wrestling. I'm sure, Jaime, you would agree with both Power Struggle and with Full Gear. From the two premier wrestling promotions, many would say, outside of the entertainment company. We're talking New Japan Pro Wrestling and All Elite Wrestling.
Yep. And I mean, Saturday, it was basically no sleep Saturday from 2 o'clock in the morning until whatever, time Power Struggle ended. And then after that, with the excitement of post Full Gear, it was no sleep whatsoever.
And what's funny was in between Power Struggle and Full Gear, to kind of go back to the bet with Mike, I was on my way to getting food for you and I, so that way, hey, we had some food to snack on while watching Full Gear. And Mike decides, hey, I'm going to wear my Young Bucks shirt, hopefully to jinx them so they never have to challenge for the tag titles again. And that's when I thought, okay, that's it. You put your money where your mouth is. If the Young Bucks win, well, I'm going to tell you the stipulations, of course. If the Young Bucks win, which they did, Mike, of course, had to say what he had to say right now. If the Young Bucks had lost, I would have had to have said, well, that they were overrated, which I don't agree with that. I'm not a member of a certain Louisville lip, some certain racket-wielding ex-manager of sorts that believes that. But nonetheless, though, it made for a pretty interesting bet. And I thought, I'll be honest with you, I didn't think Mike was gonna go through with it. But the fact that he did, it makes me respect Mike even more than I already have. And I've always had a lot of respect for Mike. So,
and ironically to me, that wasn't even the most shocking match on the card or shocking result.
No, it was an awesome matchup, but there was plenty to come. There was plenty that happened on Saturday, but we'll go ahead and start first with Power Struggle. Of course, Toru Yano retaining the KOPW 2020 championship, defeating Zack Sabre Jr. in the most unique way possible.
And what was that, Jay?
In the middle of the match, Zack Sabre Jr. had Toru Yano tied up in the guardrail with a submission hold. Somehow I'm seeing Toru Yano playing with Zack Sabre Jr.'s shoelaces, and I'm thinking, this is not going to go well. Sure enough, Zack Sabre Jr.'s shoelaces are tied pretzel tight to the guardrail, and all you can hear in the background is the referee and the ring announcer counting 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. And Zack Sabre Jr. losing in such a dubious honor by countout by getting tied up shoelace-wise into the security rail. I just couldn't believe it. No, actually, wait, it's Toru Yano. I can believe that. But,
I mean, come on. The guy is the GOAT. He is the king of pro wrestling 2020.
And when people disagree with you, what's your reaction? Like, let's get a shot at Jaime. What's your reaction when people disagree with your analysis of Mr. Toru Yano?
That's it.
Yeah. In case you're wondering, in case you can't see, he was doing the Yano, the shrug. And then, of course, another awesome battle with Minoru Suzuki and, of course, the Dragon Shingo Takagi, the rematch from Jingu Stadium this past August at Summer Struggle, as well as from the G1. And we got a new never open weight champion in another hard-hitting fight between the Dragon and the King. Your thoughts on that battle between Takagi and Suzuki?
Like you said, it was a heavy hitting battle, and it was good. It was a great match, very interesting, very entertaining. Wish we could have had more.
Definitely, and with Suzuki, and same thing with Takagi. You're going to be in there. You're going to be in a battle with that man. But with Suzuki, let's just say he brings the best out of a lot of fighters, no matter who he's in the ring with.
Oh yeah.
Then of course also at Power Struggle we saw the Rainmaker Kazuchika Okada go 1-on-1 against the Great Okan, representing Will Ospreay's new faction, the Empire. While Okada was able to defeat Okan via pass out from the money clip, which the money clip is a variation of the Cobra Clutch that Okada's been using since the return of New Japan Pro Wrestling this past summer with the New Japan Cup. Will Ospreay, the former Chaos member, went into the ring and said, hey, I want to face Okada, but the only way that his legacy would ever exceed Okada is by ending the Rainmaker on wrestling's grandest stage, the Tokyo Dome, at Wrestle Kingdom. At Wrestle Kingdom, do you see Ospreay stepping out of the shadow of Okada or Okada turning back another challenger to his throne?
I feel like Ospreay's going to be able to win it. He has a lot loading up. I mean, Okada, like he said, he's built a legacy at Wrestle Kingdom. We've seen him main event title after title matches, so why not make it Ospreay soon? It's time for the young ones to shine. So,
all right. And then, of course, Kenta, as you had predicted, would retain the IWGP US Championship rights certificate, defeating the Ace Hiroshi Tanahashi in a very clean matchup between the two, defeating him with the label lock that he calls Game Over, which I'm sure, Mike, you'll like that submission name.
Yeah, and now he's actually ready. He's ready for a very talented John Moxley. So that's going to be a very good match. And I think I want to say that match is going to go on at Wrestle Kingdom as well, right?
It's not been made official yet, but I'm sure Moxley will try to make his way to the Tokyo Dome to defend the U.S. title against Kenta. Kenta, though, of course, he's far from at the finish line for the Tokyo Dome because next week on NJPW Strong, on NJPW World, he faces David Finlay for the rights to the U.S. Championship opportunity. So we'll have to wait and see there because if he can get past David Finlay, one half of FinJuice, then the only thing that could stop Kenta versus Moxley is Kenta or Moxley.
Yeah.
And also, of course, we saw the big change, of course, with the IWGP Heavyweight and Intercontinental Championship rights certificate for Wrestle Kingdom with Switchblade Jay White defeating Kota Ibushi. This is the first time since 2012 when the stipulation was put in place at the G1 where the winner of the G1 would challenge for the heavyweight title at Wrestle Kingdom that the rights certificate has changed hands with Switchblade defeating Kota Ibushi. I got to tell you, I had the same reaction to when Brock Lesnar beat The Undertaker at WrestleMania 30 and then the undefeated streak. And I'm just thinking, what, I mean, the energy just got sucked out of the room, basically, with Switchblade beating Kota Ibushi to win that opportunity. But, of course, Tetsuya Naito, he brought that energy back by retaining the heavyweight and intercontinental titles and defeating his former pareja from Los Ingobernables del Pon Evil. But Switchblade strategically wanted January 5th because this year Wrestle Kingdom will be a 2-night event. And wanted January 5th to be where he challenges for the title because he wants Wrestle Kingdom to close with the last memory of him at the Tokyo Dome being showered with, well, if they could boo, they could boo, you know what I mean? But one of the restrictions at New Japan shows is they can only react with claps and, and stomps like that. But unfortunately, they cannot do any kind of audible cheers or boos. but basically just to be proverbially booed out of the building while holding the heavyweight and intercontinental titles, because Switchblade loves the hatred from the fans. He showers in it.
Yep.
But your thoughts on Naito deciding, you know what, hey, if I'm going to wrestle at the Tokyo Dome against Switchblade on January 5th, then I want January 4th. Hey, I'm not planning to take a night off. I want to face the guy that did win the G1, Kota Ibushi. Your thoughts, and how do you see this playing out come both January 4th and 5th?
I mean, Naito has a double duty to pull. I mean, it's great that he wants to go ahead and challenge Kota Ibushi, but you're also running the risk of losing your title the night before, or, you know, fighting injured and then having to face the new rights winner, which would be Jay White. So it's a lot of things coming into factor, whether or not Naito successfully retains. If he does, you know, he's running the risk of injury right there. If he loses, then I mean, you know, same thing with Kota Ibushi. You know, that would be a hard fought battle, and he would be facing a fresher Switchblade. I mean, bottom line is, regardless of the outcome, a fresh Switchblade would be waiting at the end of the second night of Wrestle Kingdom to be declared the new champion.
The new double champion at the Tokyo Dome. Mm-hmm. And, of course, Power Struggle, a great event nonetheless. It's one of the last big New Japan events before the big stage at the Tokyo Dome at Wrestle Kingdom, nights 1 and 2, January 4th and 5th. But also, of course, Power Struggle, another great event. Of course, your thoughts, guys, on the women's title matchup that we saw, well, the NWA women's title match that took place on the buy-in with the champion Serenity going one-on-one against Allison Kay, the former women's champion of the NWA.
Mike?
I really didn't get to watch that match, to be honest. I really only got to see the ending of it, which was, to me, the most important part, obviously. But, I mean, if you guys want to go over the match, you can.
All right.
Well, Jaime, whenever you're ready, go ahead.
I mean, I thought it was very good because, I mean, if you think about it, Allison Kay, you know, had a very good reign as the NWA World's Women's Champion. And then from there, she had lost the title to Thunder Rosa, I believe, which pretty much just says, hey, you know, since I beat Allison Kay, my reign would be something of a legitimate type of feel to it. But, I mean, at the end of the match, you know, we did see Thunder Rosa go ahead and just stare down the new champ that, you know, had defeated her for the title, and pretty much told her, hey, I'm coming for that title no matter what. So she already set down the challenge, and Thunder Rosa is ready. So whenever it happens, whether it's going to be, you know, on UWN Primetime Live, whether it happens on the next Dynamite or the next, you know, pay-per-view, which is going to be Revolution next year in February, you know, Thunder Rosa is ready, and she knows that she's not going to make the same mistake twice. And that would be underestimating Serenity and become, you know, the new NWA Women's World Champion.
Very well said, of course. Then, of course, we got to the main card, which was kicked off with the finale of the World Title Eliminator, which was Adam Hangman Page against Kenny Omega, a match we had been anticipating for a very long time, even long before they had eventually lost the AEW World Tag Team titles back in August at All Out to FTR, and even before either one was in the title eliminator. But they put on a great matchup in which we had seen the Cleaner and Hangman ultimately show that they were going to do whatever it took to get to the finals and ultimately win the tournament. And for Kenny Omega to win this match over Hangman Page in his first big high-profile singles match in a very long time, because Omega's been in the tag team division for the bulk of 2020, and this being the first big singles match Omega's had probably since last year's Full Gear with Moxley. It's kind of like it's come full circle where now Omega is the number one contender to the World Championship, and his opponent is going to be the guy that he last had a huge singles match against, and that was against Jon Moxley last year at Full Gear in a very, let's just say, hard-hitting battle between the two that took place in a match that many say may not count because it was non-sanctioned, but this match will definitely count, especially when it's for one of the biggest prizes in all of wrestling, and the title is only just 1 year old. Mike, your thoughts, of course, on Omega's victory over Hangman and the future for Moxley versus Omega come December 2nd.
Oh, well, first of all, I think that, to be honest, I mean, that I feel like that match, aside from the match prior, which was that kickoff show, I really kind of set things off, and it really got me hyped up for the rest of the show. Really impressed by Adam Page. Again, I know they're finally separating as a tag team between themselves and kind of getting away from that. Finally, Omega finally getting back into that singles picture. I just didn't really think that he would jump into that main title picture so quickly. But I mean, again, it is Kenny Omega, Mr. 7-star over here, like Hyman likes to say, 7 stars. But anyways, no. So I think it's very important, right? Obviously, the feud between Omega and Jon Moxley, and I think it's a little bit what's the word? Not too soon, but it's a little late. I feel like it should have already happened like 6 months ago. And I know that they had that that little feud at the beginning. And what's that? I don't know what that is. Is that Jon Moxley or is that Kenny Omega?
It's your favorite wrestler.
Anyways, I do have an Omega shirt now, by the way, but it was, I think, when he was New Japan or part of the Bullet Club. You know what I mean? And I'll eventually wear that one of these days. And you guys know that, I was not a huge fan of the Elite and Kenny Omega, and I'm still keeping an eye on them as wrestlers. You know what I mean? Jon Moxley obviously is holding the most prestigious title right now, or at least according to PWI's 500. No, I'm just kidding. You never know. I mean, if you think about it, the person that's on that list, right, and whoever is the champ at the time, if they are the champ at that time, should be the most recognized title in the industry right now. If you think about it. It kind of is. I mean, especially with everything that's been going on this year. But again, I'm interested to see how this feud's going to play out. Right? Obviously, Moxley. I feel like he's kind of leaning towards more of a face now. I mean, he was really kind of like a tweener at the beginning, right? Where he just he said he just wanted to beat people up and I guess just fight. That's all he wants to do, just fight. And then when he cut that last promo on Dynamite this past Wednesday, where he was saying how important that title is now, and that what he wants to do with it, etc. like that. I think it's kind of showing how important it is for him to stay champion. You know what I mean? And again, right now, there's a lot of top tier talent in AEW right now. Obviously, the matches continue to get better and better. I would really love to see one of the Lucha Bros, chime in for the AEW World title one of these days. You know what I mean? And we can talk about that a little bit later with the whole Eddie Kingston thing, because this past Monday was a little bit weird. So anywho, that's my thoughts on that.
And then, of course, also at Full Gear, we also saw the AEW Women's Championship once again successfully defended as Hikaru Shida would defeat the woman she defeated for the title back in May, of course, at Double or Nothing, Nyla Rose. But a little bit of a possible issue going on with Nyla Rose and Vicky Guerrero. But I don't know what's going on there. I mean, was there any developments from this past Tuesday's Dark, Jaime, that you may have seen that may have followed up from Saturday's pay-per-view with Nyla Rose and Vicky Guerrero?
Honestly, I haven't really I didn't really get to check Dark as much today, or not today, but this past Tuesday. Yeah. So I'm not too sure if there's any fallouts. I mean, if there is,
long, by the way, they're 2-hour shows now. Again,
I mean, if there is, they're probably gonna just go ahead and promote it more on Dynamite instead of Dark, because Dark is basically kind of a precursor to WWE Superstars.
Or Wrestling Challenge back in the day.
Yeah, I mean, some of the top stars do compete there and whatnot, and sometimes they'll carry the feud over to Dynamite. But I mean, I don't think that there was anything said in regards to the whole Nyla Rose and Vicky Guerrero situation.
Thoughts on Orange Cassidy versus John Silver?
It was a good match, entertaining. And like I had told you on Saturday, John Silver is he can carry the whole match, and he practically did. I mean, Orange Cassidy, he's a good wrestler, but John Silver, he's a really good heel, and he knows how to play with it very well and carry it around. So I mean, I can see big things going for him. But it was a very well entertained match. Lots of back and forth. Orange Cassidy coming out on top and defeating John Silver.
What was y'all's reaction to Darby Allin winning the TNT Championship from Cody Rhodes this past Saturday night? Huge upset, or this was this was the match a year and a half in the making for perhaps a new potential breakout star in Darby Allin?
I mean, I think that it was a little bit of a shocker when I watched it, because I was paying attention for the most part, and then as soon as I turned my head, I heard the bell ring, obviously, right? And I'm like, oh, okay, Cody's gonna retain, right? And nope. I was definitely shocked to see. I was like, whoa, what happened? I didn't even get to see any type of replay, so I don't know exactly what happened. But obviously he got pinned. So a little bit of a shocker, but I think that goes to show that, again, Cody Rhodes and the rest of his, corporate team, along with the Young Bucks and, even Kenny Omega, they're really, again, their role in the company is to put over the talent that they want to get recognized. You know what I mean? So, I mean, obviously we know that, Cody Rhodes can wrestle. And by the way, Cody Rhodes got his name back, by the way.
Yes.
Finally, WWE got rid of the copyright infringement or whatever, or they finally just let go of it. And,
well, it was more of a trade. WWE said, hey, you want the Rhodes last name, fine, we'll go ahead and give it to you, but we want Bash at the Beach back. So that's what ended up happening. So not next month, but in January, there's going to be, instead of Bash at the Beach, it's called, if I'm not mistaken, Beach Break. Correct, Jay? Yeah. So it's going to be AEW Beach Break instead of Bash at the Beach.
And that's fine. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, AEW should be going with new names and fresh, terminology with that company. You know what I mean? They shouldn't be trying to go with older names from other organizations, even if it was his dad's idea, etc., like that. You know what I mean? And I'm sure there was a lot of headbutting going on with that, but overall, I'm still learning the Darby Allin character. Obviously, I've been watching him since his wrestling debut, or at least in AEW. I didn't follow him in the Indies, obviously, but he's a very deep character, right? And he's one of those guys that he'll back you up. You've seen him countless times, go and get involved in other type of feuds and matches, defending people, etc., like that. And then you have people defending him, which is that just goes to show the type of character he is, where even though he seems to be somewhat of a loner character, right? There's still people that kind of have his back. You know what I mean? You guys can hear me, right?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. No, just making sure. I was like, oh, Joe was looking at something over here. I didn't think you can hear me. But no, I mean, for the most part, again, it was a shocker. But at the same time, again, maybe Cody Rhodes is looking for another type of feud. Looking to end the year out with something else, maybe. And again, that TNT Championship is always going to be his baby. It's always going to kind of be like John Cena with the United States Championship. You know what I mean? Where he's always going to end up getting back to that title no matter what. You know what I mean? Yeah.
And of course, after the match, Taz and along with his crew of Brian Cage and Ricky Starks. Speaking of Brian Cage,
God, Ricky Starks is so annoying, by the way. I love it.
He's entertaining.
Speaking of Brian Cage, he will be here December 5th at Hobbies and Heroes. Check out the Hobbies and Heroes Facebook page for more information regarding Brian Cage's next appearance here in the Rio Grande Valley, right here in McAllen, Texas.
Yeah, that's actually in just a few weeks. I might want to get Danny in on this show, because I think his shop is actually part of that. So maybe he might want to announce something.
It's brought to you by Hobbies and Heroes and also D&D memorabilia. Tickets are $30, and it's basically a photo and autograph session. I mean, it's not bad, honestly. $30.
It's a lot cheaper than the last event that they had, which was with Marty Scurll or something like that.
Yeah, and I mean, also they're taking a lot of precautions nowadays. You have to wait with your mask. There's hand sanitizer. Just to make sure that everybody is germ free. Because you have a guy that's coming in from out of town. and all these other things. So they're trying to just make everything as smooth as possible, but at the same time, just make sure that no one, gets sick or anything.
Yeah.
Right. And of course, Team Taz, they tried to attack Darby Allin after the match. Same thing with Cody, but thankfully Cody and Will Hobbs came in for the save. So basically the rivalry going on with now Cody and Will Hobbs and, of course, Darby Allin, who's been for quite some time feuding with Team Taz. Definitely one that's not going to be settled for quite some time, at least not for the foreseeable future.
We're going to see a lot of 6-man tag matches over here.
Well, Taz is not a full-time wrestler. Well, he's not a wrestler anymore, but I'm sure he might get someone to go along with Cage and Starks. Yep. But also, of course, I got to say, the match with FTR and the Young Bucks for the World Tag Team titles, and I'm not rubbing salt in the wound, Mike, don't take that wrong. But to me, when you hear dream matches, like Hulk Hogan and Ric Flair back in the day, or the one that never happened with Stone Cold Steve Austin and Goldberg, or even Kenta Kobashi and Samoa Joe back in 2005. This was a match that people talked about for years, wanted to see, and in my opinion, fully lived up to the hype. I enjoyed every second of it. There was no interference from Tully Blanchard. He was banned from ringside, didn't try to make his way back in or try to sneak in, just left it between two of the best tag teams in all of wrestling, and ultimately the Young Bucks came away with the World Tag Team Championship in what should be a match of the year candidate, defeating FTR in a match that I felt, lived up to the hype when it came to the dream match between the two best tag teams in the past 10 years.
And if you paid attention really close to the match, they did a lot of tributes, to past tag teams. They did, the Dudley Boys. They did, the Golden Lovers. They did, a whole bunch of
the Steiner Brothers, the Hart Foundation,
Demolition. DIY.
That was a shocker, actually.
So I mean, it was honestly, despite the fact that yes, the match had a lot of false finishes and stuff. It was a very good in-chain match, very hard hitting. And I really enjoyed it. And to kind of also give you guys a response also from what Nick Jackson said, that if they lost, they would never challenge for the AEW World Tag Team titles. This week on BTE, Nick got after Matt, and he asked him, hey, why would you give that stipulation, and say, hey, if we lose, we're not challenging for the tag titles. So he told him, look, this is the reason why. So he showed him his phone, and on his phone, it was a picture of the AEW TNT Tag Team Championships, basically mocking Cody from when he lost last year and created the AEW TNT Tag Team, the AEW TNT Championship.
It would be like the lower card tag team titles over here.
Yeah. So I started laughing. I was like, oh my gosh, this is hilarious because they're making fun of their own creation. And it was an exact replica of the TNT titles, with the little streamers on the side of the Young Bucks streamers, and it said tag team titles. So I was like, oh my gosh, this is hilarious. So I'm not sure whether or not they were actually going to do something like that, but just the fact that they threw that out there, I thought it was hilarious. I thought, this is gold right here.
And of course, your thoughts on MJF defeating Chris Jericho to get into the inner circle. Mike, I know you're going to be very outspoken about this, so I'll let you have the floor.
Go for it.
To be honest, that was probably my least favorite match of the night, and not to bash on like the Jericho or MJF or anything like that. I just didn't feel like the match had a lot of momentum. Not so much the feud wise, but I just didn't feel like the match had like a lot of good or enjoyable spots. You know what I mean? That's just me though. Here, let me get the camera on me. But I mean, as far as as MJF winning the match, you know what I mean? I mean, it's going to equal ratings, right, for AEW, right? I mean, him and Chris Jericho have a really good chemistry, and who knows, this might lead up to something that it might end up, causing a lot of dispute in the inner circle, and we're already seeing it with Sammy Guevara right over here, where just rumor has it that there's going to be a big baby face push for Sammy coming down the road here, and I don't know how that's going to work exactly, right? But obviously you saw the tensions like when MJF was surprising Jericho and his the group with those plane tickets to Vegas because we're gonna go to Vegas, baby. Like they were all excited, and then Guevara was like, "What the heck? I ended up going to the beach or something like that." You know what I mean?
Yeah. So MJF ended up sending Guevara to the beach instead of to AEW, and then he said, "Hey, but I sent you a second email," but obviously Guevara argued and said that he never got it.
It went to his spam folder, bro. They should have been like, "Did you check your spam folder?" Regardless, I think that'll be an interesting feud. I think that's going to be something that might, cause a little bit of issues with the Inner Circle, obviously. But I mean, we can only see what's going to happen. Obviously, again, it's going to cause a lot of tension, and we'll see. Jericho, I feel like Jericho is going to kind of be like the middleman, and it's just going to be good entertainment, right? And that's what wrestling is all about, right? Good entertainment, and I'm just really excited to see what's to come of this.
And then, of course, also speaking of Sammy Guevara, the elite deletion, rather, with Matt Hardy and Sammy Guevara. And there's been so many deletion matches that sometimes you get confused with which one's which. But Hardy versus Guevara, do you think it lived up to the hype of previous deletion matches?
I mean, it's nothing like, to me, honestly. I thought the one with Bray Wyatt and Matt Hardy was pretty good. Yes. There was a lot of just hints and stuff. It was good. I'm not gonna say it was like the best one that I had ever seen, because there's also the very first one between Matt Hardy and his brother Jeff. So I mean, it was good. There was a lot of cameos. We saw Gangrel there. Gangrel, we were supposed to also meet him at this past the WrestleFest, but due to the pandemic, we couldn't. There was also a hurricane as well, and also
what was up with that?
I don't know. And then on top of that,
what is
it was a return of Gregory Helms, the backstage interviewer as well.
My question is on that. Wasn't Gregory Helms employed by WWE up till recently or something like that?
I think so. Yeah. I think no, he was let go back in April.
Oh, so he got the boot when they had all those layoffs things. I know he was doing something with either creative or talent relations or something like that. So
no, the latest one that I heard that got the boot was former ring announcer Tony Chimmel, and he also got the boot as well. I think it was from this past week, where they were just doing some massive layoffs because of the ongoing pandemic, and it's kind of hard to try to keep a job and at the same time everybody's safety and whatnot. So we had that, and eventually it went from a singles match to a tag match to a 6-man tag match, and then it went to like a 8-man, because everyone was just fighting each other. There were fireworks involved, literally fireworks.
I love the
everywhere
aspect of it. By the way, I thought it was hilarious. By the way,
there was a monster truck involved, golf cart that got crashed, and
dilapidated boats.
Yeah. Dilapidated boats, yes. And they also made fun of their last match at All Out because of the spots that they did, which was supposed to be that they were supposed to go through the table and just crash, but at All Out it was very dangerous and just something that wasn't supposed to happen. So they redid it, did it well. Sammy, ended up bleeding a lot. They perfected the chair shot as well. So it was
the concerto was interesting. Actually, I felt like he was kind of paying homage to Edge a little bit on that. You know what I mean? Because I was like, I didn't expect to see that, and I love the joke where he kind of when Gregory Helms showed up, he was like, I don't know exactly what happened, but basically he was basically trolling WWE, saying like, oh, like what took you so long? You know what I mean? And then he had to kind of stretch that out from like one promotion to the other, I guess, because he was basically saying that the creative team was not letting him do what he wanted to do, basically. You know what I mean? So I thought that was hilarious in its own right. I was just like, damn, I love the punches that they're doing. You know what I mean?
I mean, and also at the same time, he did mention, that it took him a while because the last time, we saw Gregory Helms in deletion match, it was the leader Decay when they were in Impact.
Actually,
so it's been a
deletion.
okay. So it's been a while that we've seen, Gregory Helms in that sort of aspect right there.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was pretty cool to see. I mean, I think he's officially retired as a wrestler, though, isn't he?
I believe he is, but
yeah,
or maybe semi-retired would be the best.
Yeah, I think he's still doing shows, but I think I with his interview with Chris Van Vliet, he basically said he was done. Also, I believe so. Him and
I know that he got a custom championship. It's called the Ultimate Crime Fighting Championship, and he also made a shirt out of it. And it kind of looks like the UFC shirt, but it says crime fighting in there.
Mike, I know you're a big belt collector. Would you consider getting that?
Probably not. I mean, again, my belt collection has kind of trickled down, like I said, in the past already. So I really only have whatever I have sitting back there, which I have the spotlight on them just for the heck of it, right? But no, I mean, I'm actually like considering making a custom belt for ARMBAR. You know what I mean? Because I know that I think the Fandu belts can do custom belts, or there's other companies that will do them. You know what I mean? So I'm thinking about like putting something together and having like an ARMBAR championship also, or whatever, just for the heck of it. You know what I mean? Just to kind of pay homage to the podcast and the longevity that we've been doing it already. I mean, this has been going on for a good 5 years already. I mean, if I think about it, like me and Isaac started the podcast back in 2014 actually, so it's been going on for about 6 years actually already. So obviously this year we've slowed down the podcast. It hasn't been what we wanted it to be. Finding ways to transition to this which is our online way of doing it, things just to make sure everyone's safe. Looks like we got an old OG over here, Julie Artha, saying hi. What's up, Julie? How's it going?
Hey, Julie.
How's it going, Julie? Hope you and your family are doing well during all everything that's going on. So I think it's been pretty crazy. So I really want to, obviously, I want to continue to do this on a weekly basis. I think hopefully we can try to find a specific day. That way, our viewership will know like, hey, this is when they're going to put on their show, etc. like that. And it doesn't just have to be once a week. I mean, now that we have this, if you guys decide you want to go on, like and do the show like without me or whatever, it's everything's possible. You guys have access to the actual the Facebook page, etc. like that. So it's really not StreamYard is really not a hard program to use. It's really just like you just click it and then that's it. Like literally I'm just clicking away over here like that. Boom, boom, boom. Nice close up, Jay. But yeah, for the most part, like
it's all because it's already kind of in the single digits when it comes to my battery life. So yeah.
Oh,
I hope I don't scare anyone with this face. Unfortunately, I know it's scary looking, but
did you plug in your charger?
No, I just didn't have time to really charge it. Just that I was on the road taking care of some work stuff, and then just But it's all right. It's right now charging. I hope you can hear me. I know I don't have my earbuds.
Yeah.
On, but again, like I said, hopefully this face does not scare anyone. Although it probably will. But
it's very hideous.
So, I'd like to be able to do more episodes of ARMBAR. Like I said, it's been since 2014. You guys have been on the air. I'd love to one day possibly bring back Isaac for an episode. He was always cool. And, same thing with Tony. I know he's got a lot going on. And it's been fun. I mean, hopefully one day I wouldn't even mind seeing Devlin Frost back here if it ever arises, an opportunity that is. But I'm just thankful that we're still able to do ARMBAR, especially with all that's been as it is in 2020. So,
yep.
We at least
been rough. It's been a rough year.
Yeah. I know Thanksgiving's coming up. If there's one thing I'm thankful for is the opportunity to still communicate with our fans via StreamYard with ARMBAR. And hopefully we can even do some interviews with this particular platform as well. And I'll even make sure that my phone's fully charged at that time.
Yeah, no, definitely. Like, I've already talked to D, again, with who he does DNC Digital, right? Which, I've already talked to him about maybe coming in as a guest one of these days. One of these days when either one of you isn't able to do the show, or just to have him on and talk to him about his interviews, because, he's had a lot of opportunities lately. So, I really want to just kind of get into, I want to wreck, his brain a little bit and, see. I guess he's very driven right now, you know what I mean? And that's very motivating for me. So that's one thing that I really want to like dive into and, get, and hopefully, we can kind of get back into that ourselves as, as a group here. Right. You know what I mean? Especially with, even though all the changes are going on, wrestling is not stopping. The grind is still going. So, if you guys are up for that one of these days, we'll do that. And, we can again get with Danny, Cassie Blue from TWL, which, we were chit-chatting with them the other day and asked them, hey, what's going on with, the Texas Wrestling League? Obviously, I know everything's a lot of stuff is on hold right now because of the pandemic, right? But, I think there's going to be a lot of things starting up very soon, and again, when it's one of those deals where, like, we have to be cautious, obviously, at the same time. So hopefully, hopefully this vaccine comes out, so we can all leave our houses.
Yep.
Yeah. And I guess just to go ahead and kind of circle the wagons here, kind of get everything rounded up. Of course, thoughts on the AEW World Title, the I Quit match between Jon Moxley and Eddie Kingston. Thoughts on the match, Jaime, and the brutality that it came with.
I mean, like I had mentioned to you when we saw it, it was a good match. I thought it was going to be, something that was going to be intense, very violent, due to the nature of past I Quit matches, and also how, where these guys came from. They both came from the same company, which is Combat Zone Wrestling. And I thought it was going to be, something very brutal, lots of blood and whatnot. But it ended up still being a good match. There was rubbing alcohol involved. There was thumbtacks, barbed wire.
That was an interesting element, by the way. The rubbing alcohol. I was like, wow, I didn't think they would bust that out.
If you think about it, you have an open wound, you rub some alcohol on it, it's gonna burn. And since Kingston had a lot of open punctures, it obviously burned a lot.
It was definitely not. It was not like the I Quit matches we had seen in WWE, and I'm not knocking WWE when I say this, but I did not enjoy the John Cena I Quit matches with Randy Orton, Batista, or The Miz. I enjoyed the one he had with JBL, but this one was more, it was personal, and the fact that they were not afraid to, paint the canvas, I guess you could say, to tell a good story or to depict what they thought would be their own version of a masterpiece, I guess, when it came to brutality. And you're right, Moxley, of course, as well as Kingston, both in the world of Combat Zone and other independent promotions that specialized in the hardcore world of wrestling. But at the end, of course, Jon Moxley made Eddie Kingston say the most two dreaded words you could ever say. It was 5 letters, 2 words, I quit. And that's something Kingston even said on Wednesday on Dynamite he had to live with for the rest of his life. But hey, Moxley was man enough to make Kingston say those 2 words and retain the AEW World Championship.
Yep.
Well, I know, of course, Mike, you had mentioned about you got stuff going on in the morning, and of course, I myself, I got things to take care of as well. We're going to go ahead and just wrap up tonight's armbar. But before we do, like I said, we've been doing this for quite some time, where I ask a question that's not related to what we're talking about in terms of current stories or developments going on in wrestling, just a little fan friendly inside the minds of the voices of Armbar. And this next question I wanted to ask was, out of all the interviews we have done, past or present, since you started doing Armbar, and since me and Jaime eventually joined in at the times that we did, what was the one interview you felt absolutely starstruck over?
Are you asking me or are you asking Jaime? I'm sorry.
Both.
He's asking all.
Okay, well, as far as starstruck, probably Kelly, just because I've met other divas or female stars, right? But it's just I don't know. Obviously, she's a gorgeous woman, right? So when we were interviewing her, obviously, I was we were lucky to be in that spot for just a few minutes because she had probably one of the biggest lines there at WrestleFest earlier in the year, right?
Yeah.
And then next to that would probably be the Sammy Guevara and Brian Cage interview, because that would be the biggest interviews for me, as a producer. Or in general, that's being involved in the podcast up to that point, you know what I mean? Obviously, everyone that was there, and that I'm not trying to take away anything from the the indie promotion wrestlers that we've interviewed down here, guys like Danny Ramones, you know what I mean? That was a fun interview, and I mean, Coven and Bandana Joe, those were one of my favorite interviews over there, right? But once we're getting to that level, we're actually interviewing people that are on television and are recognized internationally, right? That was the starstruck thing for me. So yeah, I would have to say Kelly. Kelly.
Ivan?
Down. I'd say Sammy and Brian. Due to the fact that we didn't even have to ask them anything. They just took over the interview and they just made it into something entertaining. There was a lot of questions that they answered for us, and we just asked them one thing, and they both they both took over the question and they made it into a little conversation between the two, but at the same time included us as well. So I thought that one was our most entertaining interview that I feel like we've done.
It's our most viewed interview on YouTube, actually. I think it has over
that's perfect. That's perfect. And
yeah, I think
despite the fact that Sammy told everyone to unsubscribe to us, to subscribe to him, and then he pretty much gave a shout out to his own vlog. I mean, it's so good, no matter what.
I'll go ahead and link that here for people that want to watch it later if people actually watch this far. But yeah, it's on YouTube and it has about 3,000, maybe 4,000 hits already. I'll go ahead and link that for the people that would like to watch it a little bit later. 4.2K views. So, and again, this was actually right before Cage got hurt, obviously, because Cage got hurt that night, unfortunately, during the match with Masada, right? And he was out. I feel like there was a lot of big things coming for him. He probably was supposed to be debuting in AEW a lot sooner, but because he tore his bicep or whatever, that happened the night we were there, guys. So I think I was like, wow, you know what I mean? The night the Dudleys decided to retire, that was one of the last shows that they came down here with us, you know what I mean, at Hidalgo, which I thought was pretty cool. Literally the following show was their retirement show, you know what I mean? I thought that was pretty amazing, you know what I mean? That we were able to see them for the last time. And even Matt Hardy, even though he came down to the Bird Ogden Arena, that was one of his last matches in WWE that we got to see, you know what I mean? So I mean, all of these little things that happen, it means something.
Same thing also with Dean Ambrose at the last Edinburgh show that he was a part of, which was the last one we had to date. I would say, for me, starstruck, I would say, aside from Brian Cage and Sammy Guevara, which I thought that was very, wow, I'm interviewing someone who's currently part of one of the biggest promotions in wrestling today, AEW, and the other who's world-renowned for his time in Mexico and also with Lucha Underground and other companies before he went to AEW, Brian Cage. But to me, also, one that really got me starstruck was when I met Alex Delbadio, the former Alex Reyes from NXT.
Yep, that one also.
And also because of how down to earth he really was, especially a guy that had been with WWE as a backstage announcer 5 years ago, really, when you think about it. Mm-hmm. And the fact that a lot of the stories he got to tell as well about his time in NXT, I was just so entertained and also starstruck. Like, wow, this is awesome. So probably one of my more starstruck interviews. That, and also I would say the Renegades of Wrestling with Dan Martinez a couple years back. That was still one of my favorite interviews. One of more like, wow, I'm surrounded by great wrestling royalty in Texas, at least in the current scene, the independent scene. At that point, I would say. But nonetheless, though, guys, it's been an awesome armbar. Mike, Jaime, any final comments or final gripes or complaints or bursts of energy? I don't know.
Just remember that Leon Ruff defeated Johnny Gargano this past week on NXT to become the new NXT North American Championship. And the belt does not fit him.
And the Gargano Championship defense curse finally continues. It continues. At least Sasha Banks broke her curse with her successful SmackDown Women's title defense last Friday night against Bayley on Friday Night SmackDown. Johnny Gargano, he has yet to successfully defend a championship.
Wow, that's shocking that this is like a show that we rarely got into any type of WWE talk, and it's NXT talk of all things, right? But that just kind of goes to show that, you know, right now the promotion, or not the promotion, but what's going on in WWE, it's not interesting for a lot of fans, you know. And I mean, I get it, you know. I try to watch Raw now, and it's just like, you know, there's a very few aspects of the show that I really like watching now. You know what I mean? Obviously, you know, the big deal right now would be Randy Orton being the World Heavyweight Champion. On SmackDown, Roman Reigns being the Universal Champion right now. So I feel like they're just kind of going back to focusing on those main titles again, like, which are, you know, obviously the main titles, and they're really kind of straying away from like the mid card and the you know, the female titles. I mean, the female titles, I feel like they're a little bit higher than the mid cards now, which, you know, there's nothing wrong with that, right? But like, you know, you're not really seeing anything a lot from the United States champion, which is Bobby Lashley, of course. You know, we'll see his title defense next week, right? And then Sami Zayn with the Intercontinental champion. I mean, I guess they're trying to hype up Survivor Series, which, you know, it's going to be like a versus, you know, title versus title pay-per-view, which might be interesting. And I'm not saying it's not going to be a good pay-per-view or anything like that. So we'll just see how it goes.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, Survivor Series, I don't know. I mean, Randy Orton versus Roman Reigns, I'm not too interested in. I'd be more interested if it was Drew McIntyre and Roman Reigns, especially Drew McIntyre as he is now, compared to when he faced Reigns the first time at WrestleMania 35. Asuka and Sasha, we just saw a couple of months back at SummerSlam. New Day versus Street Profits is interesting, and Lashley and Zayn, been there, done that. It would have been more interesting if it was Raw, SmackDown, and NXT like last year, but they decided not to add NXT this year. But
that makes no sense to me.
The reason why I read online that the reason why is because well, obviously there had been a lot of testings going on NXT. Some people coming out positive, so they don't want to risk anyone, you know, from Raw or SmackDown. But I feel like, you know, moving forward, they are going to be doing that where it's Raw, SmackDown, and NXT. Because I mean, if it works one time, you know, why not go ahead and shoot the magic again? I mean, like I said, you know, they would have done it again this year, but due to the pandemic and everyone, or a lot of people get tested positive, they had to hold off onto it. It's nothing, you know, within creative or anything.
Yep. Well, I guess we'll see how it goes. I think the pay-per-view is when, this Sunday, or is it the following Sunday?
It's Thanksgiving weekend.
Next Sunday.
Thanksgiving weekend? Okay, because that's after the 22nd, I believe, then. So that'll be like the weekend.
It's going to be on
the
22nd.
Prior to Thanksgiving, pretty much.
Okay, it's the Sunday. Yeah, okay. I'm going to be off that weekend, so because I'll be on vacation starting this coming week. This Saturday, I'll be on vacation. So finally, I get a little bit of relaxation.
Finally, the Biz
and
is on vacation.
Yeah.
And this week on the WWE Network, they're gonna have like some sort of documentary between Kane and The Undertaker, which leads on to the following week, the kind of like the return of The Undertaker at the Breaking Skull sessions, and Survivor Series is also going to be the final farewell of The Undertaker due to the fact that he is retired. So I'm assuming that event is going to be his official retirement event.
Yeah.
And from what I heard is that they already invited, you know, past superstars. Savio Vega already said, hey, you know, I don't mind, you know, going to Survivor Series and saying a couple things about The Undertaker. So this is going to be the first time that we see Savio Vega in a WWE ring in years.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So.
Well, that'll be interesting.
It's going to be very interesting, nonetheless. The final farewell.
And also,
perhaps WWE's greatest superstar in The Undertaker at Survivor Series.
And also, just want to remind everybody that tomorrow marks 15 years that we lost a great legend in Eddie Guerrero. Jay, you did happen to get me an Eddie Guerrero figure, which is Target exclusive, by the way, for anyone that's into figure collecting. So if you happen to find one at Target, it's the only Eddie Guerrero figure that has been made, in a while. Due to his unfortunate passing, we didn't get to have a Shawn Michaels versus Eddie Guerrero at WrestleMania 22. We didn't get to have a second World Title run for Eddie Guerrero. But I mean, just the fact that we have all these memories and the network where we can go ahead and watch all his segments and matches. It's very interesting and how many lives he's also impacted, past and future wrestlers as well.
Yep.
But anything else you guys want to add?
Eddie Guerrero, and I think my favorite memory of Eddie to this right now, that my favorite Eddie Guerrero memory was the first time WWE came to Hidalgo, and he was part of that event. It was a SmackDown Live event where he and Chavo took on the Bastions for the SmackDown Tag Titles, or the WWE Tag Team Championship, they were known as at the time. And the crowd reaction, you would have thought it was Hulk Hogan showing up at Dodge Arena. It was just a massive reaction for Eddie and Chavo, one that I still remember to this day. And just a shame we never got to see Eddie back in Hidalgo or Edinburgh, And tomorrow, of course, I'm sure, Jaime, you will have a lot to say when it comes to the 15th anniversary of the untimely passing of the 2006 WWE Hall of Fame Eddie Guerrero. But anything else, guys? You guys want to add to the show, or want to add? Or
Nope, that'll be it. I mean, let's go ahead and close it out.
All right, guys. Well, we thank y'all for joining ARMBAR tonight. Tune in, of course, whenever we say that we're going to be live. We don't have a set schedule yet, but we're live. We'll be live. That I do promise. Until then, for 7 stars and for The Biz, this is the Rock Star, and we are out for the night.
Peace.